Okay, so let's start building the actual slider. If you remember, we've installed something called Slick Slider. So we're going to use it right now. I'm going to go right here at the top and say import. Let's go back, import. And it's going to be called Slick from React, then Slick. Okay. Remember that Slick Slider needs some CSS and some themes, some CSS. So remember we used this one right here. We placed all the Slick CSS for this. Remember that we need to use this. This is not. It's not. If you don't put this, it's not gonna work. So okay. So we are calling right here. Let me close it. If I go to right here to Slick, if we use this, if we call it right here, we put it right here, it's kind of a try to work. The Slick Slider needs some configuration, so we're going to do that right now. But first, I'm going to call it. I'm going to say Slick, and then Slick. Let's assume that, this one, it's slide number 1, and this one, it's this slide number 2, whatever. Okay. So the Slick Slider needs some configuration. And this is not, I'm just I'm not making it up. If you go to the GitHub, the Slick Slider GitHub, it's going to tell you right there, the configuration that you need to use. So I'm going to delete the props for now. I'm going to go right here and I'm going to create a variable that is going to host all the settings. It's going to be equal, and we're going to pass some values. So at first, by default, we're going to get some dots. So this one is going to be true. Then we're going to have infinite, just like this, infinite. And this one is going to be, just like a carousel, like a slider, infinite slider. Makes sense. Then true. And we're going to have arrows, and I'm going to set it to false by default. And then we can have speed, and the speed is going to be 500. Then, of course, this is by default. Slides 2, and then show. It's going to be 1, and then slides. Slides. It's plural. Slides 2, scroll, and then 1. So this is the main default configuration that we are giving to this slide. The dots are true. It's going to be infinite. We don't have any arrows, and then we set the speed. So how do we pass these settings, these values, to Slick Slider? So if you remember, we can do this. If you want to pass a bunch of options, a bunch of settings, and we have an object, what we can do is ... and then we make a reference to that variable. It's going to be settings. All right. Okay, so we have the Slick Slider, we have all the CSS inside the index, and we have the settings. So in theory, it should be working. You can see the number 1 right here, and notice that we have the dots, and we have 2 slides. If I slide it, it works. So that's good. It's at least it's working, and we are not getting any errors. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to render the actual data, the image and the title and everything else, and the link, of course. So this one, it's not going to work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just delete this and leave nothing inside for now. So what we need to do right now is to create a template. Why creating a template? Let's say that this slider is going to be rendered, it's going to be used by the for the home, and we just get some image and some text. But maybe you want to use the slider on a different place, maybe on videos, and you want to add things, maybe add icons or something else. So what you can do, you can create different templates right here, and then whenever you call the Slick Slider, pass the template that you want to use. We're going to be doing that in a minute. So I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to make a reference to a variable called template. We don't have it yet. We're going to create it in a minute. So I'm going to go right here at the top, and I'm going to create a variable that is going to be called const template. And this one at start is going to be equal to null. Okay. So if you remember, we are getting the data from props. From props, we are getting the 3 articles. So what we can do, we can access props, loop the data, loop the array, and get 3 different templates inside the same slick. Okay, so I'm going to go right here at the bottom, and I'm going to create a switch. So with switch, what we can do, we can match a scenario and render a particular template, and if we match a different scenario, render a completely different template. So I'm going to say switch, and this is just a common JavaScript, just a common switch. Now this switch is going to receive the type of the template that we want to render. As for now, we don't have a type. So I'm going to go back to slider, and I'm going to be passing this as an argument right here, just like a prop. I'm going to say type, and I'm going to pass a value. So I'm going to say featured for now. Just a dummy name. You can use whatever you want. So now inside slider templates, we're going to get a props type. So I'm going to say props.type. Good. So now this switch is going to have different cases. So if we are requesting for a slider with a type of featured, we're going to be rendering this template featured. There we go. So if the scenario, if the props.type, it's equal to featured, we're going to be rendering something right here. And of course, just like a regular switch, we need to add the break, and we need to add a default scenario. In this case, if we are getting a default scenario, the template is going to be equal to null, because we don't want to return anything. Good. So let me make it like this. So now before the break, if we are requesting for a slider that with the type of featured, we need to add the template that we want to render. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to say template, just like that. It's going to be equal, and we're going to map over the data that we get from props.data, the articles. So it's going to be props.data.map, just like that. Going to open and close, and just like before, we get an item and we get the iteration. Okay, so this one is going to be equal to a fat arrow function that is going to be running something. Going to close it just like that. So this one, of course, is going to be returning something and open and close. So what we need to return, it's a div in this case, which is going to be the actual template for this. So each template, each item, whenever we loop something, needs to have a key. So I'm going to say key of I. Okay. So now if I do text, I don't know, whatever, let me output the I, which is the iteration number. It's going to be 0 and 1. I'm going to say I. So now if we call to template is going to be equal to whatever we matched in this. So let's go back. Let me reload the page. I'm getting an error message. I made a mistake with the names. It's going to be template. Let me see. Okay. Whenever you create a variable that you're going to be changing inside your code, if you use const, it's a constant. This is ES6. It's not going to get changed because const cannot be changed. We should be using a let. Okay. So, notice that we are getting 0, 1, and 2. And it's 3 different slides. If you remember, the props.data are 3 articles. We were getting 3 different articles, so we get 3 times. So it's looping the actual props.data. And the information of each article, it's going to be inside item. So let's create the markup for this. So first, inside the div, I'm going to create a new container. And this one is going to contain the image. So it's going to be class name, and we don't have a style. You don't have a style sheet right now. We're going to create it in a minute. So right now, this div is going to contain pretty much the whole information. So I'm going to say style dot and featured underscore item. This is going to be the main parent div, not this one. This one just holds the key. And inside here, first, I'm going to add the div that it's going to contain. It's going to host the image. So I'm going to go and put it a class name of how the heck am I going to Okay, so I'm gonna say featured. No, makes sense. I'm having a problem writing featured. I don't know why. So it's featured image. And okay, we have the class. So this div is gonna have a class, and of course we need to pass a background image. So I'm gonna say background, just like that. And the background, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say style. We're gonna be adding some inline styling and double curly braces. So this style is gonna have a background. And the background is gonna be just CSS. So first we get the URL, then open and close, and all the images are host inside public.images. Remember I gave you this zip? So all the images are gonna be inside articles. So I'm gonna go right here and say /images /articles / and now the name of the image of this particular item is going to be inside the db.json. If I go to db.json, each article has a property called image. So now inside slider.template, what I could do, I can use template strings. I'm going to do $ open and close, and it's going to be called, it's going to be equal to item dot and image. So it's going to be image, just like that. And then of course it's going to close the tag. Okay, so let me make this a little bit nicer. Okay, so in theory we should be getting of course the image. We are not getting anything because style is not defined. We didn't created the CSS. So I'm gonna go right here to new slider. I'm gonna create the style for the slider. So it's gonna be new file and slider.css. So first we need to create the styles for this image, for this one. So first, the first class that we have, it's gonna be the featured item. So I'm gonna go and say featured, then underscore item, and this one for now it's gonna be a position relative. Okay. So then inside we're gonna have a link. Let's go back to the slider templates. We're gonna have a link right here, and the link is gonna be the actual link to the article. So we're gonna have a to, and if we check the db.json, right here we have the date, author, body, team, and the ID. So the ID, it's unique, so we can use this as a location for the link. So okay, I'm gonna go back to and I'm gonna make a reference to template strings. It's gonna be ./articles / and then I'm gonna use template strings and say item.id. Okay, that's good. So style's not defined. It's because I didn't add the import. So it's import styles and then from and ./sliders.css. Oh, sorry, slider.css. And we're gonna get rid of that error message in theory. Let me make sure. So okay, 1 second. Style is not defined. Style is not defined. It's because I make styles and not style. Styles and styles. Sorry for that. Okay, so link is not defined. We are not bringing a link from React Router DOM link, and then import from React Router DOM. Okay, so we are getting something at least. We are still getting the three slides. We are not getting any data inside. We're gonna be adding this right now. So we have the link, and inside the link, we're gonna add the title. We have the title right here. So I'm gonna make a reference to this. I'm gonna say div, open and close, and I'm gonna add a class name to this. I know I'm adding a lot of classes, but it's gonna make sense in a minute why. It's gonna be featured, and then caption. Again, you can name this whatever you want. And then inside, we can have the item dot title, just like that. Let's go back. Okay, at least we are getting the title and it's a link. And if I click it, it's taking us to the articles and then, the ID of the article. So that's good. It means that it's working. So now we need to add the style so we can see the actual image. If I click on this element and let me make it bigger, I can see that I'm adding as a background image the article, and if I right click and open in a new tab, we get the actual image. So this is working. The only thing that we need to do is just change the CSS. So we're going to do it right now. I'm going to go back to sliders, slider, and we need to kind of change the featured item to the link. So I'm going to say featured and then underscore item and a. We're going to make reference to the link, and the link is going to be kind of a floating inside. That's why we make position relative right here. So it's going to be position, then absolute. Then we're going to make a width of 100%. That's good. We're going to make it to the bottom. You're going to see in the middle Y, bottom, then 0. And I'm going to put pixels, doesn't matter. And then text decoration, we're going to get rid of the text decoration. It's going to be none, and then it's going to be all the way to the right. Good. So let's take care of the featured image. I'm going to go right here at the bottom. I'm going to say featured image. I believe I called it that way. Yeah, featured image. That's good. So it's going to be featured image, open and close. And we're going to give it a fixed height of 330 pixels. We're going to set the background size. We can see that we are getting it. The background size, then size. It's going to be cover, of course, and we're going to give it important. What else? The background repeat doesn't need. We don't need it actually, but I'm just going to put no repeat just in case. And then important. And okay, that's fine. We're getting the image, and it works. We just need to make this a little bit better. Okay. So now we need to style the featured caption. So it's going to be the actual text. It's kind of a floating, but the thing that the text, the element that we have inside, we need to add some styles to it. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to say featured, then caption. And I'm going to change the color to, I don't know, white. Make sense? Good. I'm going to put it all the way to the top. I'm going to say top 0 pixels, then width, and it's going to be 100%, then padding. And this is the styling I am giving to this part of the application. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. This is just CSS. I'm going to say weight, font weight of 300. Very slim. Font size and font size of, I don't know, something a little bit bigger. And I'm gonna do the box sizing. Oh yeah, no, so sorry. Not the font size, the box sizing. It's gonna be box sizing and then border box. Okay, so it looks nice. Looks nice. It's not that bad. The only problem is that the background, we're kind of mixing the letters with the actual image. The white. So right here, if we go to the other example, we have kind of like a gradient right here at the top, at the bottom. We're gonna fix it on the next lecture. So everything looks nice, all right? The only thing is that, for example, we have the dots right here. I don't really want the dots, so we can change dots to false, for example, and it's gonna be hiding the dots. That's good. The problem is that I don't want to do that. What I want to include this slider, and I want to pass the props and all the settings, all the configuration whenever I call a slider. So, for example, if we are inside news, I make a request. I include this component, and I pass the same settings or maybe different settings, and it is still gonna work with different settings. That's the main point of making a reusable component. So let's go to the next section and start creating the props and everything else for this component.